Welcome to Intro to Zen Tangles Line Edition. You might have noticed that I have two different intros to Zen Tangles. It doesn't matter what order you watch them in. There's basically two different methods that I use for Zen tangling, and so I'm showing you each. The first was a shape method, so like these stars where you do the shapes and then you build the lines outward. Hearts are another example. These holly leaves, so it's the shapes kind of expanding. What we're doing today is the line method, where you start with a single line and then you go above and below it until you totally fill out the page. So here's another example, a jagged one. This was a shapes. This was a wavy line version. You get the idea. So going back to this, which line was the first line? It's nice shimmery paint. Can you tell? Because I can't. And that's just something to keep in mind as we're going today. The first line doesn't matter. And actually each individual line really doesn't matter as well. It's about the process and creating the whole final situation. So just to get you up to speed, let's go through the last few and then we'll get started. So we did some waves. I'm moving through this book in color order. So the blue should have been this way, but we moved from greens into turquoises and then into blues. If you're wondering where some of these are, if you don't see them, they're on TikTok if you're on YouTube, and they're on YouTube if you are on TikTok. So we have our blank page, and I'm going to use these binder clips just to hold the page down so it doesn't pop up and get in the way. Okay, nice. We're going to be using this palette today. It's from Kuretake. It's beautiful, has its own little palette color swatch section, and we're going to be using this blue right here. This is our first real blue one in the book. We're then going to need a little cup of water, some paper towel for dabbing. I've already used this one a bit. I like to use them until they are all used up because I think they make kind of cool patterns. So here's one from before I've kept. I definitely hold on to way too much stuff, but I also like that about myself most of the time, so it is what it is. So we have this one here. I'm gonna put that by my water. And then we also, of course, have a cup of coffee because it's 8 in the morning and it's a bit chilly in LA. So we're gonna talk more about the supplies that we're using in a little bit. We're just gonna get started first. It's raining right now, which hopefully makes for a nice background noise. Okay, so the first step is to activate the paint. So what that means is get your brush really wet. You'll see I already have a bit of a puddle here because I use this color a lot. And we're just gonna swoosh around the paint and make it wet because it is hard at this stage. And with a big, what's this called? I'm forgetting. Pocket thing, like this. We don't need to wet the whole thing, just a little bit of an area. I like to make quite a big puddle, like more than I'll need for my first swoosh, so that the paint, I have quite a amount, oopsie daisy, sorry. I have quite a good amount of paint to keep consistency, which I'll show you how that works now. So for the single line, very simple. We just start with a nice single line. Let me turn my focus on. We're gonna do a swirly one today, and it can take any direction you'd like it to. So we're gonna go until our brush runs out of paint, which is around there. Pick back up. And I don't love how that connected, so we're just gonna go like this and smooth it out. Lovely. So this line can have as many twists and turns or corners as you like. It's totally up to you. And these pieces are kind of like snowflakes in that each one is different depending on where you've started. And that's what makes them so fun. Like you rarely look at snowflakes and you think, oh my God, that one's awful. You might often look at some and say, that's particularly cute, but in general, they just are, you know? Okay, so now that our first line is down, we're gonna go from the bottom first today. You're simply going to trace right below that line with a new line. And how close you go to that line is totally up to you. I'm going pretty close because I have a lot of practice with this. So well, that's really the best way to summarize it, I'd say. If you're just getting started, do not bold, underlined, compare your stability or closeness to mine, because I'm literally a professional artist and I do this most days of the week. And my main bodies of work are all concerned with line, except my abstract series. So I just have a lot of practice. So it doesn't really matter what I am doing compared to what you're doing. And with a lot of practice, you will grow. So what I'm noticing that's kind of funny is that this paint is bleeding out a little, and it hasn't done that on any of the other pages. Interesting. So, boom, we have our second line. We're then gonna go, you guessed it, do a third line. So I'm gonna start this next section from down here as opposed to right here, because I wouldn't have a great angle there and it would give me less control. So I'm gonna start from here where my wrist is at a place that I feel more confident, and connect them like this. And connections can be tricky, so we're just gonna go in and smooth that out. You'll notice that when we go inside a curve, it gets tighter and smaller, and when we go outside a curve, it widens. And as that moves throughout the page, they're going to make different types of patterns. So let's pay attention to those as we go. Okay, nice. It's definitely looking wavy. As to why the paint is bleeding, I'm actually not really sure. I've used this palette before on this paper, so it's not that. And I've used this paper before in this book, so it's not that. So it must be one of those, but I think it's quite cool. Actually, do you know what it is? It's raining today, and so it's probably just the energy of the piece matching the weather, right? I would say so. So we just keep doing our nice lines. So look here how, oops, I want to curve that out a little more. Look here how a point has happened. Now we have two options. We can leave that as is, which is typically the preferred way of working in Zentangles, because it's a whole exercise and just like being happy with what exists. Or we can round it out. I think I'm gonna do the first option. So I'm just gonna leave it as is because that point just naturally occurred. We're gonna clean up as we go. The most important thing to remember when you're starting to Zentangle, I say starting because I think as you go, it'll become more natural and you won't need to necessarily think about it, is that this whole piece is about the process of finding calm and to take a step away from perfectionism and to give ourselves a bit of breathing space away from all the other things we have to worry about in life. It's just like a moment of quiet. Like this piece is not that serious. I'm just in my studio on a Wednesday morning before I start my day, trying to give myself some moments of quiet so that my day can be the best it can. Like if the lines touch, so what? It really doesn't matter. I mean, if your intention for the piece is to make a work of art where the lines don't touch at all, then yeah, of course that's gonna bug you. But that's not our intention on this video. It's actually rarely my intention. We have a little bit of a kissing there, just a little peck. But when we quote unquote mess up, I don't really think it's messing up in these pieces. In the other work I do, I definitely can notice mess ups, but it's just what it is. And if we focus on how there's a section that isn't exactly what we wanted it to be, then we're just kind of spoiling the experience for ourselves. That's not fun. It's not very nice. Take this as you will, though. You can make whatever intention you would like. I actually have a slightly different intention for each piece, like whether it's on making consistency between the white spaces or the painted lines, or consistency in transparency, which is controlled by the ratio of pigment to water. Or experimenting. Maybe I'm using 2 brushes for the first time, 2 different widths, and I want to see how they interact. So there can be little intentions, but I think the overarching intention that I am teaching is to just find this moment of peace. I listened to a podcast yesterday. I really liked Rise with Roxy's Jay Shetty episode, and he discussed how morning routine, the way he sees it, is that it's like putting on your armor for the morning, because you don't know how the day is going to go. And so you may as well prep as best you can. And if you have your armor on, little cuts and scrapes aren't going to bug you so much, like little problems and things that arise. And that is, I'm so happy I listened to that, because that is exactly the way I see doing these Zen Tangles. They just really zen me out. And, hold on, sorry, gotta focus. Okay. And if I've had a morning where I've worked on them, or also just other art, not necessarily always Zentangles, I just feel my cortisol levels and all that are much more prepared for the day. So if something bad happens, it's just not as big of a deal. I'm less reactive. I'm not a very reactive person in general, but that's how I would phrase it. So today I'm going to acupuncture at the doctor, and I had planned to walk there because it's quite a nice walk, and it's raining. And I think on a bad day I might have said, oh, of course the day that I want to go to the doctor, it's raining in LA. But I don't think it's really productive to frame things like that for myself, you know? So instead I'm thinking, awesome, I get to wear my raincoat. It's really cool. It's bright blue, and it was my mom's. And it doesn't rain very much in LA, although we are having a bit of a stormy season. I don't get to wear it much, so what a great opportunity. And if I'm all cold and wet when I come home, guess what? I have a shower. So as our piece has been growing, it's really becoming one big swoop. Soon, hey Parmesan, this is gonna disappear, I imagine, and it's just gonna be like boom, boom. And it's funny how that can be created from just our first line. Parmesan is contributing again today. Hey girl. Once we get under this part of the page, it can be kind of tricky to see. So that's why I'm peeling it away. Parmesan, you're rocking the table. It's not ideal for what I'm doing. So on the supplies that we are using today, this is the round 2 brush from Princeton. I think round 2 is a common shape and size. There's different types of brushes, and round is one of the shapes. Obviously, it looks like this. And 2 is the size, so it starts at 1 and then it goes, I've seen all the way up to 10, I'm sure there's more. So it's a pretty small version of the round. I love Princeton brand because I just find it really high quality. This is not an ad. If they want to sponsor me, that would be dope because I use their brushes every day, but I just love them. Actually, none of this is sponsored if you were curious. My palette is from Kuretake, which I absolutely love their paints. I got this palette at the Pasadena art museum. I don't remember the exact name, but I saw it in the gift shop. I love a museum gift shop, and I just had to have it, so that's where I got it. But I've linked all of my favorite ones from them in my supply list, which is in my bio. What else can I tell you about? The paper towel is Bounty, and then the water cup is just, you can buy little water cups at the art store. I bought a big pack of them for a class I was teaching where I needed people to have their own water cups, but I usually, or not usually, when I'm somewhere else where I didn't have that pack at home, I'll just use a cup from the kitchen. Or also, leftover dairy containers are great, like the ones mozzarella or feta come in. So we're really getting to the edge over here. I started this part first because going in there, really I don't have much leeway. So it's easier to get this how I want it to be because I have the right angle, and then go back in and paint how the edge looks. Nice. If you don't have time to do this painting all in one go, that is totally fine. You can divide the page up in sections to start and do just one section a day, or if you do a shape, you can, do a circle and just do 2 circles in the morning and do another circle at night. It's really dependent on your schedule, which is what I love about these so much. They're all unique and representative of the time where they were made. Parmesan is sitting right by the book right now. I'll show you in a second. She's being very polite. We'll just finish this stroke. A little cleanup. So some angles I get the tip of the brush, and then some I get the side. For consistency, when I get the tip on this piece, I'm then adding to it to make it thicker like the others. So that's what was happening right there. Okay, here's the cat. Parmesan. Okay, back to our little studio. I'm really happy with my coffee today because for Christmas I got a bag of coffee from Small World, which is the best coffee shop in Princeton, New Jersey, if you were ever there. And I finally ran through my other coffee, and so I ground it today, and this is my first cup of it, and it is really exciting because it tastes homey to me. I was making it this morning and I was like smiling in the kitchen that I was having my first cup of it, and then I started thinking, wow, people would probably think I'm so bizarre for being so happy about that. Like I can envision my friends just being like, what are you doing? And then it made me realize that I feel like my key to life today is to just enjoy the little things. Like I think if you savor them and make them not a big deal, but give them, oh, we have a kiss right there, give them the attention they deserve, then you're just happier. Like why would you not want to celebrate little bits? Can't think of a good reason. I used to not be that way, and now that I am, I just realized I'm way more peaceful. So, okay, you see we had this kiss here. People say, what do you do when you mess up? Well, I'll show you. We're just gonna go right past it. And keep going. So one major thing I forgot to mention is that we are following the contours of the drawing as opposed to just trying to draw the exact line 30 times or however many are on this page. So if we have a little wobble, we're gonna reflect that in our next line. We haven't really had many here, but when we do, I'll point them out. And wobbles are not bad. Like this is a wobble, the fact that it goes up, you know? So just to make that clear. If we're doing a line piece as opposed to a shape piece, they're typically a little bit faster. So I started this at 8, probably 20, it's 8:41. Well, you'll see when I have the final video how long it is, so I don't really need to tell you that. So notice right here, this is kind of, it was quite a seamless curve and now it's kind of falling a little here, which is just interesting to watch, and we're gonna keep painting directly below that and see what it turns into. So when I re-up the paint, I could start right here, and then that's what makes quite the dramatic differences. I've been starting midway because, let me show you. Well, that actually went all the way to the end, so let's just finish this one and I'll show you on the next one. I also, on this paper, don't like to go all the way to the end. I got quite close there, look at that. Also, I haven't mentioned it this time, I know that I say this a lot, but it does not matter what materials you have. You can use printer paper, you can use any old sketchbook lying around, you can use a pencil, a Sharpie, markers. I'm just telling you what I use because people ask. Okay, it's kind of happened again where the paint carried all the way, but at one point I'm going to show you why I start from kind of midpoint on the line. I feel like when I'm doing this, it just kind of like irons out the wrinkles in my brain, and I see the wrinkles as what causes frustration. I don't really want to be frustrated today, so I'm going to do what I can to avoid that. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're going to go as far as we can with this. Now it's dried up. So I want the thickness to be the same. So I'm gonna go back to where it was as thick as it is right here and go from there. So I'm re-thickening up the line that started to taper off. That's what gives it its consistency. Okay, lovely. This looks like if a wave and a hug had a baby. So I'm gonna lift up this paper. There isn't actually the space to go and finish that section here. So we're gonna work on this section first, and then we're going to do that one right there. Okay. I'm gonna bring you a bit, oh sorry, I've been right at the bottom of the video. I'm gonna bring you a bit closer for this one. Just for fun, really. Okay, here we go. So we can up close see how we do this one. Going up, and then going down. Kind of like a little roof of a house. You'll notice as you do more of these that there's certain negative space shapes that happen a lot. Now, if you're really just starting and you're wondering what the best shape to start with is, I don't think there is a best shape to start with because I think that's too much pressure on a singular piece. I think try a few and see what you like best. And if you really are not sure, then go to my playlist of these on TikTok and close your eyes and scroll and then do the one you land on. I'm gonna fill in that little bit and I'm gonna make this a little pointier. It's giving Mount Fuji. Okay, really nice. So here's how it's looking. Oh, sorry, I'm just focusing. Here's how Parmesan is looking. Okay. So now what happens here is, I also like this method because the image all goes down, and so I'm not putting my arm in anything. Often when we do shapes, let's say there's here, 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 I do this one, and then when I'm doing this one, it's wet, so I need to turn the page, and that's absolutely fine. But if you're looking for something really simple, this is great for that. So we're now going to do the other side, and I think I might actually go this way. Yes, that is what we're going to do. So I think we can go a bit closer. Let me know if you're happy with this angle and closeness and all that. Proximity is the word, I guess. Okay, just getting you in the right place. Okay, cool. So we kind of widened out our design, and now we're going back to it being tighter. So this starting line, by the way, you can start at any point on the page. You can do it right at the top. You can do it a third of the way up. I actually usually do it about a third of the way down from the top of the page, so here. But I like it to not be at the very top because I like to see how the lines come out of it differently at the top versus the bottom. Because as we said at the start, when it goes in, it makes a point, and when it goes out, it gets wider. And I just think if you do it in the middle, then there's more opportunities to see how that can happen. Just kind of a bit of playtime for the eye. Which this is what this is. It's playtime for the eye and the mind. That is if you're not putting too much pressure on it to be perfect or to solve all your questions or anything. It's just one little drawing in our whole day, in our whole life. Okay. I hope that my hand wasn't too in the way for that. Let's see that again. So my position kind of expired, so we're gonna start again from over here. Parmesan's watching the brush very intently. Don't even think about swatting it, Parmesan. This is a tricky angle for me, so what I'm gonna do is go here as far as we can. Also, watercolor takes a second to dry, so going in the middle like this, it's still wet, and so it's naturally going to blend into itself, so you don't really have to do much mixing. If you saw my tie-dye piece, you'll see I used multiple colors that connected with each other, and you can see how they bleed into each other, and that was really fun. I have that in my shorts and in my TikTok. Okay, now we're getting to this bit, which we're gonna go like this. Okay, nice. This is gonna create a point soon. Oopsie daisy, made it a little thicker. I'm gonna create a point soon, so we'll see how that looks. I also can envision these might, I'm not sure yet, but might close up and make a little negative space. It's going to look like a thumbprint in the middle, isn't it? Do you remember that drawing I showed you at the start? Are these drawings or painting? I don't know. I feel like I'm drawing with paint. But it doesn't really need to be in a box, so don't mind me if I use those terms interchangeably. The orange one at the start, I must have started with kind of a similar line. I really don't remember what I did. Because it was kind of a similar shape. We can flip back to that at the end and compare. I actually don't know if this is going to create a negative shape because these are quite tight and they might just come into a hug and close up. Remove the cat hair from the paintbrush. Oh yeah, I think they are just gonna close up. The good thing about these paintings as well is that you can't plan how they're gonna be. Like I think maybe if you really paid attention to it and were pretty experienced, you could dictate how things would look from your first line. I mean, I'm sure you can do that actually. I think I've done that, but again, that would be a different intention, which is fine, but it's really, what I like about it is that it's an exercise in just not knowing the outcome. And so much of my other work, and also just so many things we all do in life, the outcome is really important and you're working for a specific direction and yada, yada, yada. And I think that has a time and a place, of course. Like we need that to function a lot of the time or get stuff done or achieve our goals. But it's really important to use the other side of the brain. I say, like, per my experience, because then the creativity doesn't dry up. It's like, what's a good analogy? If you work out your biceps and not your triceps, I'm not a huge workout gal, so I don't know the terms. I just do what the workout instructor tells us to do, but it's going to be super unbalanced, right? Like, you're going to look a bit weird. And I feel like it's kind of the same with things like this, where we want to use both sides of the brain. Let's just pause that for a moment. And I'm going to show you, we're going to use skinny brush, which is the tip, to actually draw in this section because it's thinner than if we were to do our line. Okay, nice. We can actually We can go a little bit more. Okay, there's a lot of bleeding going on, but I don't mind it. So what was I saying? We're gonna start from this side this time. Yeah, because we don't know the outcome, it doesn't matter how it goes, which is, I think, the best way to let go of expectations or being upset with quote unquote messing up, because why are you saying you've messed up when you don't know what it's actually supposed to look like? Like, how it's supposed to look is going to emerge. So don't give yourself a reason to stress about it. That would be silly. Let me show you while we're here a piece where I actually planned something out, just to kind of give a contrast. I can show you this little house that I made. Obviously, I wanted this house to be exactly as it looked. Not exactly, like I made up my own bricks and I made up my own shadows, but the architecturalness and where the blue went versus the brown and the green and how the shadows look, I planned. So I had a layout before, I kind of colored it in, filled it in. This is totally the opposite. If this line goes like this, whatever. And I think having both is just important if I haven't hammered that home enough. Anyways, back to our piece. Let me see, is it better if my hand's like this or like this? Doesn't really matter. Okay, if there's a way that I could improve my visibility when filming that I am just not noticing because I'm down here, please let me know. I would love to make these as visually appealing as I can. I'm gonna skinny brush that little point and then pick up where we left off and go all the way around this edge, I guess it is. I'm gonna clean up that connection right there. So if you want to do an ombre one, like blue to green, this is a great type of one to do it because the lines are somewhat in a line. They're not like all over the place. Let me show you actually. Here's one I made earlier. Does anyone watch Blue Peter, or did anyone? This is with pen. I'm going to be doing a video later where I color it in and just show you how that looks, but if we were to do a color, for example, in this square, it would be a little all over the place, or like down and up and blah, 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 and it wouldn't be such a smooth transition, whereas this one is more linear. I don't know if I'm explaining that too well, but hopefully you know what I mean. Anyways, this is kind of similar to what we're doing, these waves that just kind of fall in order. And when you do it with angular lines, it's a different effect. Boom, 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 boom. And it kind of looks like, this looks like a different angle than this and this. It's kind of trippy, right? Anyways, that video is coming up soon. Probably on TikTok. Okay, we're gonna go from this side this time. Make our nice way around this. Curve. I feel like the lines kind of got thicker as I went outwards. I'm not sure what to attribute that to, but here, this is definitely a better angle to pick that up. Nice. I want this to match that curvature a little better, so I'm gonna go in and just adjust it. There we go. Now I think this paper, oh, so everything I'm using is in my supply list except for this book. This book is from L'Amélie Paris, and it's the Handmade Cotton Rag Journal, and it's handmade paper, obviously. It's so cool. I just love the texture and consistency of it. It has little seeds in it, like right here, and those pick up bleed a lot, I've noticed. And I just think that makes for a more interesting composition. So I think that's pretty cool. But if you're wondering why that's happening on a not high level, that's why. I definitely want to, oh, we have a kiss. I definitely want to do some of these in multiple colors. I'm pretty slow at working through ideas. Like, I like to kind of exhaust an idea before I move on so I can get the best learning from it. And I'm not at the point where I'm doing that yet as pertaining to this book, and I paint in this book a lot. I'm going color by color in rainbow order. So we're gonna get there. I think I'll do some out of this book in multiple colors, and like the black and white one I showed you before that I'm gonna color in, I will for sure do multiple colors, but they're coming. Oh, also after this line, let me show you. Georgie recently found me some black scratch away rainbow paper, and I did a Zentangle on it, playing with the differences in the thickness of the black and the thickness of the rainbow lines. You'll see in a sec. And that was super fun. Let me show you. Cool, right? That was so much fun to do. I had to use the back of a paintbrush to scrape and a little kind of pin tool. That's on TikTok. And shorts, I guess. Okay, we're so sadly coming toward the end. Let's go a bit closer for this last bit, shall we? Sorry, it's funky to get exactly right. Okay. I'm trying to think what else I can tell you about introing. But the biggest takeaway is that this is just time for you to experiment and explore and have a play. So there isn't too much I can dictate to you. Like I'm not even gonna teach you how exactly to use the brush because you might not be using a brush. If that's something you're interested in though, let me know and I can do a video on it. But it's more the concept that is important. Oh, we have a kiss back there. So we have a little bit of a divot there, which we've mirrored ever so slightly on this one above. Also, let me know what shapes you'd like to see next as we move in the blues. For sure going to do clouds, snowflakes, raindrops, rain puddles. What else is on my list? An octopus, flowers. Might save flowers for when I get into purple. But I'd love to hear your suggestions. And if you really want a particular one that I haven't done, for example, you want an orange octopus. I have custom ones available on my website, so you can order a Zentangle and I will make it in the color and shape that you want. I can do up to 2 colors and up to 2 shapes on those. And they'll be on handmade paper too. They're not going to be in this book. They're going to be on single sheets. So you can frame it. Whoa, bless you. I have a neighbor who coughs a lot, and he also smokes a lot. I'm like, sir, I think there's some correlation going on here, but hey, it's not my life. Okay, we're really coming toward the edge over here. I think we might have done our final line at the top of the paper. Let's see. I'm gonna lift it up. Yeah. So let's complete the corner. Nice. And I can take you a bit further in for this last one. I just love the deckled edge of this paper. It just feels so peaceful to me somehow. So now the page is broken into just 2 strokes, so an angle like this and an angle down, which is pretty easy and also pretty quick to complete. It's hard to see the edge sometimes, so I'm going to lift this up to give myself some visibility. Boom. Clean that up as well. Nice. So in addition to Zentangles, which are my hobby, I wouldn't call it a body of work, it's more like a exercise. That's actually also a great way to frame these, is if you're just like in a creative rut or you don't have that much time for art, but it's something you love and you want to just like kind of keep the light on. These are a great way to do that, and they're a great way to practice your brush control, explore color combinations. The possibilities are actually endless. But I just had a huge brainwave for the body of work I'm doing, which is mixed media and does involve watercolor. And I'm hopefully starting a new piece for that on Friday. That's my kind of Lizzie art day. I haven't really been able to work on it much because I was in San Diego, so away from my studio, and then last week was a lot of catch up because I had been away from my studio, so getting back on track with all my plans. And I think this Friday I can really start it, and I am super excited for how that's gonna turn out. It feels like working on that body of work feels like being reunited with a long lost lover. I just can't wait. It's such a like happy space for my mind. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to starting on the actual piece on Friday because I need to test out some material combinations and some color combinations and get those ready before I put real paint to paper. But that is still great headway, and I'm excited to see how it turns out, because I have these ideas and I don't know if they'll really look good, so it's kind of just gonna be sketchbook time working that out. Okay, we're really coming to, whoopsie daisy, the last corner here. Sad. After this, remember, we're going to flip back through the book and just compare this to a few pieces to show you how there's a difference in technique. And then we will go about with our day. Oops, look what I've done. Putting my finger here for a bit of stability. Okay. Okay. Oops, I've done it again. Hilarious, Lizzie. Okay. So just trying to change the focus here. Okay, here's how it looks. So we have this wave in the middle, and then it kind of disperses out, upward and downward. So there's also an option to make a few starting lines, and that gives it more angles and stuff and less rippling. Hold on, I need a sip of my coffee, which I'm trying so hard not to slurp. I hope that you don't hear it. I'm going to show you an example of that. Where is it? Here. So for this one, I started a line here, a line here, and a line here. And so that's why it's kind of crunchier, because these lines, as I went up and down from them, came together. Whereas this one just goes out, which is why it's more, or why it's less chaotic. And chaotic isn't bad, it's just different vibes. Similar with the waves, I did a few starting points and then filled them each in, and it made all these cool kind of negative spaces. If I just did one wave in the middle, it would be kind of a curlier version of what's happening here. Wow, I really like this blue. So excited to get into the blues. So back to that orange one I showed you. Okay, so I think the starting line was one of these. Boop, 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 boop. I was playing with having curves and angles, and you see how there's this main loop here that just kind of goes out, and same at the bottom. Almost looks like a fingerprint weirdly. It's kind of similar, right? We have this, here's that kind of line that breaks it up, which is similar to this and this. And then we have one here too, which is what's coming out of the wave in the center, which is kind of like this. So it's just nice to compare the pieces sometimes. Now that I have so many in this book, it's I have a lot of opportunity for that, which I enjoy. So this was the first one I did, not Zentangle, but like watercolor Zentangle in this book, and you can tell where I started and where I was kind of getting a hang of it. And this, it all tells the story, right? Like I still love that it's in here, even though it isn't as perfect as the others. It doesn't matter, it tells the story. We're not gonna go through the whole book. I just wanna show you, where is it? Here we go. So see how there's different variations in thickness? This is another really fun thing to play along with. I was in the sun and it kind of bleached part of this before others, which is why there's color variation like that. But I kind of got thicker with gravity, and then mirrored that in other areas too. So it has a kind of groovy vibe. And did I do that again somewhere? I don't think I did. I'll do another one like that soon. But anyways, that was our video for the day. I hope that you feel like you have a good grasp on Zentangles now, or that this has sent you to sleep or kept you company, and we'll do more soon. Please let me know what ones you want to see next. If you have any questions, please, please, please like and subscribe. It's so, so helpful for me. And I'll see you on this page. Bye.